I'm Matt McClure, and this is Currents. Catholic Charities Brooklyn and Queens lends a helping hand to tornado victims in Joplin, Missouri. We'll have the details. Plus, Brooklyn is about to install 3 new priests. Bishop Nicholas DiMarzio will talk about their upcoming ordination.
No, you never forget the day of ordination, and the ordination ceremony itself is a very moving event, not only for the ordinandi, but also for the bishop himself.
And a Queens parish combines crocheting with Christian faith.
I just like to knit and crochet, and when I saw it was for a charitable organization, I decided just to do them.
Well, good evening. Thanks so much for joining us tonight. Well, by now, it is no secret that this year's tornado season has been the deadliest in over 6 decades. Twisters have killed more than 500 people so far this year. Officials now say that all of the missing are accounted for, and the death toll from last month's monster storm in Joplin, Missouri stands at 138 people. The tornado there leveled more than 8,000 homes and 500 businesses in Joplin. It also destroyed one of the city's 2 Catholic parishes, St. Mary's. The storm is the deadliest single tornado on record since 1950. But Catholics from across the country are reaching out to help in Joplin, including Catholic Charities Brooklyn and Queens. The organization's Director of Emergency Management, Susima Seeley, is there in Joplin. She joins me now by phone. Susima, thanks so much for taking some time for us. We appreciate it very much.
Thank you, Matt. I really appreciate this chance to be able to share what I'm seeing out here in Joplin.
Well, sure. And first of all, just share with us kind of what you are seeing and maybe, you know, the mood of the people there as well.
Well, let me just say that I was able to drive through the damaged area, and this devastation, this utter devastation of buildings that are destroyed. We're talking almost 7,000 buildings, people's homes that are now gone, people that have lost everything that they have. And in spite of that loss, I'm still seeing some hope. I'm still seeing people that are, you know, they're saying, look, I've lost everything, but, you know, we're going to move on. So that's a little comforting, actually, with all of this sadness.
Wonderful. Well, some people might be asking, okay, you know, you're with Catholic Charities Brooklyn and Queens. What are you doing there in Joplin? So how did this visit for you come about?
Well, I'm actually part of Catholic Charities USA's National Disaster Response Team. And what they do is when they put out the call for help, those of us that are able to and willing, we come to the actual site of the disaster, and we try to connect the local folks to the national resources. We try to make those connections that they wouldn't normally be able to make because they're busy taking care of responding to what has actually happened. And, you know, for me, it's a matter of connecting with the folks that I may already work with in my capacity at CCBQ. And so it might be a phone call, it might be attending meetings, it might be helping them to connect to donations. Whatever it is, it's my job. I see my job as facilitating things for the folks that are here so that we can support them and help them as they begin to recover.
Sure. One of the things that we've been talking about here on Currents, I know, has been just the devastation and really the leveling of St. Mary's Parish. Have you visited the parish there? And if so, tell our viewers a little about kind of the conditions there.
Well, you know what, Matt, I have not had a chance to go over to St. Mary's, but I have spoken to people who have, and I've spoken to some of the parishioners, and it's if you're a person of faith, it's quite devastating to see the place that you go to worship being destroyed. But I see it also as a place where people are coming together and saying, you know what, this is definitely a reason for us to have our faith and to move forward. And perhaps it's a catalyst into renewing faith, but whatever it is, it has not destroyed the hopes of the people that are here.
Sure. The one other question that I had for you as well, along those same lines. Now, are you there? I mean, I guess a lot of people might think you might be there just to work with the Catholic Church or with Catholic people, but are you there to work with the community as a whole or only Catholics?
My goodness, that is an excellent point that you're raising. We are here to help anyone and everyone that needs help. That's it. Anyone and everyone that we are able to help.
Wonderful. So anyone in need. And what are the greatest needs of the people there right now?
Well, at this point, folks that have found places to shelter and places to stay, and they are slowly getting back to rebuilding. So they're going to need lots of household items and all that. But I want to say that the best possible thing that anybody listening could do is to either, if they're interested and they're able to donate, please send money. Money will go much further than sending things. Money will allow these wonderful people of Joplin to be able to select what they need. It'll give them dignity, and it'll give them choice, and it'll give them a measure of control back into their lives. So, folks, please send money. We've got Catholic Charities USA's donation page. Catholic Charities, CCBQ, I'm sure will have something. But send money and send it to a reputable organization.
Wonderful. Well, money is, of course, it adds that flexibility, as you say, to get the things that are really most needed rather than sending items or anything like that specific.
Exactly.
So, yeah, absolutely. And we'll encourage our viewers to do just that. Well, Susan Masili, the Director of Emergency Management for Catholic Charities Brooklyn and Queens in Joplin, Missouri, we thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it very much.
Thank you, Matt.
Well, there is much more currents coming up. Biden meets Benedict in an unexpected visit to the Vatican. That story and the rest of the day's headlines next. Welcome back to Currents. I'm Matt McClure. Coming up later, how a little bit of knitting goes a long way. But first, let's have a look at the day's headlines. Well, the New York State Catholic Conference is coming to the defense of a state senator who says he's received death threats. State Senator Ruben Diaz, who is also a Pentecostal minister, says both he and his family received death threats because of Diaz's vocal opposition to same-sex marriage. Last month, he held a march and rally in the Bronx to voice that opposition. Now, writing on Facebook today, New York State Catholic Conference President Richard Barnes says that although the campaign to legalize same-sex marriage is conducted under the banner of tolerance, behind that is another campaign. He says it's one of intimidation, of threats, and of ugliness. Now, a bill to legalize same-sex marriage could come up for a vote before the end of the legislative session later this month. Well, meanwhile, for the fourth time in a decade, a church in the Bronx has been denied use of New York's public schools for their services. An appeals court ruled that a Board of Education policy banning religious services in schools during off hours is constitutional. One of the judges in the case said if schools were to allow religious services, people might see the schools as state-sponsored Christian churches. Well, meanwhile, a Catholic high school senior wants the chance to pray during her speech at a public high school's graduation tomorrow. Joe Conger has more on efforts underway to make that happen.
She wants to thank her Lord and Savior, but the appeal won't be with her maker. It'll be with the Fifth Circuit Court. That's the higher power valedictorian Angela Hildenbrand wants an audience with.
I've been looking forward to my high school graduation day for a long time, and I had hoped that it would be a cause for celebration, not for conflict.
Hildenbrand joins the State Attorney General and the school district in trying to get prayer put back into Medina Valley High's graduation ceremony. A prayer ban went into effect after an agnostic family and their graduating senior filed suit last week. The Catholic 18-year-old says she simply wants to thank God for his blessings in her address to students. Hildebrand says she wants permission to use some language that's been barred by U.S. District Judge Fred Beery. Words like Lord, in Jesus' name, and Amen, the language, she says, of her personal faith.
Yes, I do intend to pray in my speech on Saturday, and I feel that the court's ruling does infringe upon my rights to freely express my religious views, and so I hope that the appeals court will do the right thing.
As a parent and a citizen, I would just like to say that I'm so proud of my daughter for standing up for our First Amendment rights.
Hildenbrand says what began as her private religious viewpoint has become a rallying point for the community.
It's also been a real blessing to see how our community has banded together to stand up for what they believe in.
That report from Joe Conger. Well, the man known as Dr. Death has died. Dr. Jack Kevorkian, who became famous for performing assisted suicides, died at a hospital in Michigan early this morning. Kevorkian had been hospitalized for pneumonia and kidney-related illnesses. He was charged with murder numerous times back in the 1990s for helping terminally ill patients take their own lives. He was eventually convicted of second-degree murder in 1999 after helping a patient with Lou Gehrig's disease die. He was paroled in 2007. He even had an unsuccessful run for Congress in 2008. Kevorkian's death comes just weeks ahead of the U.S. Bishops' Conference meeting in Seattle, during which they'll debate and vote on a document on assisted suicide. It will be the first statement on assisted suicide by the entire Bishops' Conference. Well, turning now to the Vatican. It was an unannounced visit. Vice President Joe Biden meeting today with Pope Benedict. Vatican officials only said that the meeting was brief, and U.S. officials did not release any details. Biden is Catholic but supports abortion rights, and that's something that gained attention during the 2008 presidential campaign. The then Bishop of Scranton, where the diocese where Biden grew up, stated that no Catholic politician who supports abortion should partake in the sacrament of communion. Well, the Pope also met with a leader from the Middle East today. Rome Reports has more on that story.
The Pope met with the president of the Palestinian National Authority, Mahmoud Abbas, at the Vatican. During the meeting, the Pope said Palestine's aspiration to become an independent state is a legitimate one, but still it's a goal that shouldn't be accomplished at any price. In a press release, the Vatican asks Israel and Palestine to live safely and at peace with its neighbors within internationally recognized borders. The Vatican also calls for the just and lasting respect of everyone's rights. It also adds that being open to reconciliation will be essential, along with the support of the international community. But achieving this won't be easy. Amid political tensions, Palestinians and Israelis broke off talks in October of last year. The meeting with the Pope lasted 17 minutes. The Palestinian leader gave this golden icon to the Pope, and in turn, Benedict XVI gave him the traditional pontifical medal. This marks the fifth meeting between Benedict XVI and Abbas. The most significant meeting was held in May 2009 in a refugee camp near Bethlehem, where Israel is constructing a wall along one of its borders with Palestine.
Well, the Pope is on the go. This weekend, he'll make his first apostolic journey to Croatia. Benedict did visit the country twice when he was a cardinal. According to Catholic News Service, the focus of this trip will be on the family and building a community with Christian values. 89% of Croatians are Catholic. Well, meantime, during a just wrapped up conference in Rome, bishops' representatives from around the world heard testimony from an abuse victim. The Anglophone Conference on the Safeguarding of Children, Young People, and Vulnerable Adults has been meeting annually since 1996. It was the first time the conference has heard an abuse victim's testimony. The head of the U.S. Bishop's Office of Child and Youth Protection said that the testimony was valuable. She told Catholic News Service that hearing directly from victims and the impact that the abuse has had is very powerful. Well, turning to politics, potential Republican presidential candidate Michelle Bachmann is not pulling any punches with Planned Parenthood. Now, Bachmann was one of the speakers at the Faith and Freedom Coalition conference that got underway in Washington today.
In a time when President Obama is calling on the Congress to give him authority to increase borrowing money that we don't have, so raise the debt ceiling by borrowing another $2.4 trillion, and we're giving money to corrupt organizations like Planned Parenthood that are committing crimes and enabling young minor girls and covering up issues. I don't even want to talk about it because it's so disgusting. But this organization has, by their own records, performed 324,008 abortions in 2008 and 2009. And that's in addition to the trafficking of underage girls that has gone on under Planned Parenthood's nose. Do you think maybe we could start here by defunding this organization?
Now, back in February, Planned Parenthood fired a manager at a New Jersey clinic after she was seen on a hidden camera advising a man posing as a pimp on how to get abortions for underage prostitutes. In a statement at that time, Planned Parenthood said that it was profoundly shocked by that video. And a local leader has been sworn in to a prominent State Department position. Dr. Suzanne Johnson Cook is the new ambassador at large for international religious freedom. Cook is a Baptist minister and New York City native. She served as police department chaplain and as an advisor during the Clinton administration. Now, in her new role, she'll serve as principal advisor to President Obama on religious freedom. Stay tuned. There is more currents ahead. Coming up, we go into the deep with Bishop DiMarzio to discuss Brooklyn's newest priests.
When you can see a new priest join the ranks of presbyterate, adding to our numbers, it's a great time.
Welcome back. Well, June is one busy month. Can I get an amen on that one? Between the graduations, the weddings, the confirmations, Father's Day, it is just a genuine miracle that we can actually manage to get anything else done during the month of June. And even with all that is going on, there are other still more significant milestones that call for celebration during this jam-packed month. In Brooklyn, one traditional annual June celebration is that of ordination. Tomorrow, Brooklyn Bishop Nicholas DiMarzio will ordain 3 young men as new priests for the diocese. They are soon-to-be fathers Dariusz Strzelecki, Daniel Rajewski, and Rodnev Lapomere. Now, in anticipation of the ordination, I sat down with Bishop Nicholas DiMarzio, and we went into the deep about ordination and the state of the priesthood in Brooklyn and Queens. Bishop DiMarzio, thanks so much for being here.
Good to be here again.
Very much appreciated. Well, of course, ordinations upcoming. Is this your favorite time of year?
Well, among the most favorite, yes, certainly. When you can see a new priest join the ranks of presbyterate, adding to our numbers, it's a great time.
Sure, sure. Well, how many men will be ordained this time around?
3 men will be ordained this time.
Awesome. That's very good. And it seems like just recently we actually had 3 other men ordained. I believe last year was another 3 men
Yes,
ordained?
3 last year also.
So we're kind of keeping that trend. What's kind of the state of vocations in the diocese right now?
Well, I think we made a turn for the better. All told, I think we have 64 seminarians who are in the college level and also on the theologate level, which is quite a difference. For when I came to the diocese, we had 27, so 64 is a major jump ahead. At times, again, the discernment process is not easy for people. We would lose a few people, we'll gain others, but I think we're a little ahead of things than where we were, at least. Never enough, but we see greater numbers now.
Who are the men that will be ordained this time around?
Well, this time, interesting enough, we have 2 men who are Polish background. They're born in Poland, studied at St. Cyril and Methodius Seminary in Michigan, and they will be ordained. And one is a native born, a man of Haitian background, and so we have the variety. It kind of meets the needs of the diocese. We have a large immigrant Polish population, and also a Haitian population. So we're reflecting what the population is.
Sure. It's very multicultural, just like Brooklyn.
Oh, it is. That's what it is.
And you've got the 2 men, of course, of Polish descent. And what a time for them right after the beatification of John Paul. And speaking of John Paul, of course, here in the diocese, there's the John Paul II House of Discernment. That's right. One of the resources for young men who might be trying to discern a call. Another Project Andrew as well for young folks who might feel like they have a call to the priesthood. Tell our viewers a little bit about those resources, if you will.
Well, the House of Discernment is a place where before somebody enters the college seminary or the major seminary, they can stay for a year, 18 months, discerning their vocation. They continue to go to school or to work, whatever they would do. There's a place where they can live, have common life, prayer, spiritual direction. And it's proven to be a very good feeder for the regular programs. It gives people a chance to leave their current situation and to prepare themselves and to make a decision. It's been a rather good experience. Project Andrew, on the other hand, is a group meeting every 6 weeks or so that we invite young men thinking of the priesthood to come and to meet the bishop, to speak to him, and we have prayer and dinner together, and we discuss, and we have usually other young seminarians or younger priests or older priests too, that talk to them about the experience, what it's about. It's kind of come and see. It takes its name from the fact that it was Andrew who introduced Peter to Jesus. And so somebody has to be the catalyst of bringing these people in to be introduced. So far, we've been doing it about 7 years now since I've been here. I don't think anybody from the Project Angel has been ordained yet, but we do have men who came to Project in the seminary, so that's a very good sign.
It's good. It's a good. Yeah, it's definitely a good sign. And I remember covering one of those, and the crowd was very, very sizable. So you get a good response to that.
30 at a time, sometimes a little bit more. So there's a good group.
It was a very nice size. I think there might have been more than 30 at the time that I was there. So it was a good time. Well, every time you preside over an ordination, does it kind of bring back memories of your own?
Oh, sure. You know, you never forget the day of ordination, and the ordination ceremony itself is a very moving event, not only for the ordinandi, but also for the bishop himself, and it does bring those good memories back.
All right. Well, Bishop Nicholas DiMarzio, thank you so much for being here.
Okay, thank you, Matt.
Thanks. And the ordination is coming up for those 3 young men tomorrow morning at 11 o'clock at St. James Cathedral Basilica, and you can actually watch it live right here on net. Stay tuned, there's much more Currents ahead. When we return, praying and crocheting at a Queens parish.
Sending this off to someone that needs it. Yeah, that's good.
Well, finally tonight, we all woke up to a nasty jobs report this morning. After months of being told we were slowly but surely on the road to economic recovery, well, today's monthly unemployment report has tempered that optimism, to say the least. Only 54,000 jobs were added in May. That's a serious slowdown in the pace of job growth and well short of Wall Street expectations. And to make matters worse, the unemployment rate edged up to 9.1% after falling over previous months. But you know, there's something about difficult times that brings out the best in people. And that spirit of charity and stewardship is on display at St. Sebastian Church in Woodside, Queens. Parishioners there created a Pray and Stitch group with the purpose of knitting for charity. With every slip, stitch, bind, and darn, a life is changed for the better.
We're gathering here today to work on knitting or crocheting 8-inch squares for a charity called Knit a Square, which collects these squares to piece together blankets for abandoned and orphan children in Africa.
I thought it would be a good cause.
I just like to knit and crochet, and when I saw it was for a charitable organization, I decided just to do them.
Sending this off to someone that needs it. Yeah, that's good.
Knit a Square is an organization that seeks these 8-inch squares from all over the world. People, individuals, groups go ahead and make these items and send it to them. They have volunteers who in turn will piece these into blankets and distribute it to the children in need. Crochet is a textile art that uses a series of loops with a crochet hook. Knitting is another textile art that uses 2 needles, usually with one pointed end, sometimes with 2 pointed ends, and it's forming stitches that interlock.
I like to finish it, you know, because it's only a square.
100 squares, sure, to make a nice sized blanket.
I have 3 stitches here.
Oh, I guess I could do it overnight.
In the stitch, through the stitch.
I've switched over to crocheting because it's faster.
I don't think about anything except counting and getting that next stitch.
This group is open to anyone. It's open to any age. Somebody could be learning today for the first time, and they could take a project home and work on an 8-inch square and give it to us for future use. We're willing to share our skills and help teach someone else to make items. Perhaps they'll find another charitable organization that they wish to support by having learned to knit or crochet.
It's probably one of the most creative groups that we have in the parish. In many ways, what the people get at Mass, they bring here so that they can give, so that something like this is very, very much caught up in the life of the parish, and it's important to help the parish grow.
weren't really sure how many people we were going to expect for today's meeting, but as long as people gather, whether it be 2 people, 4 people, 10 people, 20 people, we're all working for the greater goal of knitting or crocheting these squares for the children in Africa.
I think whenever you are doing something, when you make something with your own hands, it's an act of love for whomever is going to receive it.
That's right, an act of love, and that's making something with your own hands and giving it to someone else for their use when they're really in need. There's just almost nothing better than that. Well, that is it for this edition of Currents. Now, do not touch that dial or that remote. You'll want to stay tuned for some primetime favorites here on NET. There's no need to get off the couch and go see a movie tonight. Just pop some popcorn, sit back, relax, and watch independent films on Faith on Faith Film Festival at 8 p.m. But if you are just bound and determined to pay $15 for a Diet Coke, then do not walk out the door until you've checked in with our movie critics on Real Faith. That's coming up tonight at 8:30 p.m. You have my word, they will not steer you wrong. And if you're in the mood for some theater, actually, I picked up a copy of the New York Times today, and I looked down and I saw my picture in it. It's actually an advertisement for a play that I'm in called Oswald. It's based on the interrogation of Lee Harvey Oswald after the shooting of President John F. Kennedy. And I play a Dallas, Texas deputy, or a detective of the Dallas Police Department. So I get my southern accent back out in the play. It might be fun for you to come see that as well. It runs through June 18th. I'll post some more information over on the website. It's currentsny.net. Click on Riding the Wave for that info. Now be sure to visit us online at currentsny.net over the weekend. We're also on Facebook and on Twitter. For all of us here at Currents, I'm Matt McClure. Thanks so much for watching. Have a great night.